If I don't check the lock 10 times, something bad will happen. If I don't wash my hands, I'm not safe. It's a prison built on what-ifs. This is the biopic of OCD, the relentless search for a certainty that doesn't exist. Today, we're diving deep into the world of obsessive-compulsive disorder, a condition that's far more than just being neat or organized. It's a complex cycle of anxiety, doubt, and ritual, and understanding it is the first step toward breaking free. So, what exactly is happening in the brain during an OCD cycle? Let's break it down. It all starts with something called an intrusive thought. Imagine your brain is a busy city street. Most thoughts are like cars driving by you. Notice them, and they move on. But an intrusive thought is like a car that suddenly screeches to a halt right in front of you, horn blaring. It's alarming, unwanted, and feels incredibly urgent. These are often called spikes. For someone with OCD, this spike isn't just a random, weird thought. It comes with a massive, overwhelming wave of anxiety, distress, or even disgust. The content of the thought can be anything, but it often attacks what a person values most. For example, a loving new parent might have a sudden, horrifying thought about their baby getting hurt. A deeply religious person might have a blasphemous thought pop into their head during prayer. A health-conscious individual might become fixated on the idea that every surface is teeming with deadly germs. The key here is that these thoughts are ego-dystonic, which is a fancy way of saying they go completely against a person's actual values, desires, and character. The person experiencing them is horrified by them. But the OCD brain doesn't see it that way. It latches onto the thought and screams, "This is important. This is a real threat. You need to do something about this right now." This intense doubt and anxiety create an almost unbearable need for certainty and control. Am I a bad person for having this thought? Is my family in danger? Am I contaminated? The brain wants an answer, and it wants it now. This is where the C in OCD comes in, the compulsion. A compulsion is a behavior or mental act that a person feels driven to perform in response to the obsessive thought. The goal is simple: to neutralize the thought, reduce the anxiety, or prevent some dreaded event from happening. It's a desperate attempt to regain a sense of safety and certainty. Compulsions can be visible, like washing hands over and over, checking that the stove is off, or arranging objects in a very specific way. But they can also be invisible, happening entirely inside someone's head. This can include mentally reviewing events to make sure you didn't do something wrong, praying in a specific pattern, or silently repeating certain words or phrases to cancel out a bad thought. Let's go back to our examples. The parent who had the intrusive thought about their baby might start compulsively checking on the baby, avoiding being alone with them, or constantly seeking reassurance from their partner that the baby is okay. The person with contamination fears might wash their hands until they are raw, clean their house for hours on end, or avoid touching doorknobs and public surfaces altogether. In the moment, performing the compulsion brings a brief, fleeting sense of relief. The anxiety subsides, and for a second, it feels like the danger has passed. The brain thinks, "Phew, I did the ritual, so the bad thing won't happen. I am safe." This relief is a powerful, addictive feeling. It's negative reinforcement in its purest form. The brain learns that compulsion equals relief from anxiety. What's the first thing the brain will scream to do? The relief you get from a compulsion is a lie. It doesn't actually solve the underlying fear or uncertainty. It just puts a Band-Aid on it. Every time you perform a compulsion, you are sending a powerful message to your brain. That intrusive thought was, "This ritual is the only thing that kept us safe." The brain becomes even more convinced of the danger, making the intrusive thoughts more frequent and more intense in the future. The compulsions, in turn, often become more elaborate, time-consuming, and rigid. Then 20, then having to tap each corner of the door in a specific pattern while checking. The very thing you are doing to try and control your anxiety is actually making it stronger. It's like being thirsty and drinking salt water. It seems like it's helping for a moment, but it's ultimately making you more dehydrated. Just as you finish your ritual, a new what if will pop up. What if I didn't pray with the right intention? You can never, ever be sure enough for OCD. Their lives shrinking as they try to avoid triggers and perform rituals. It's exhausting, isolating, and can feel utterly hopeless. So, if the rituals are the problem, how do you break the cycle? The answer lies in a powerful, evidence-based therapy that sounds terrifying, but is incredibly effective. Exposure and Response Prevention, or ERP. The name tells you exactly what it is. The exposure part means you gradually and intentionally face the thoughts, images, objects, and situations that trigger your obsessions and anxiety. This is done in a controlled and systematic way, usually with the guidance of a trained therapist. You start with something that causes a low level of anxiety and work your way up a fear ladder. For someone with contamination fears, a low-level exposure might be touching a doorknob in their own home. A higher-level exposure might be touching a public restroom door handle. This means you make a conscious choice not to do the compulsive ritual. You touch the doorknob, feel the spike of anxiety and the urge to wash your hands, and you don't. You sit with the anxiety. You allow yourself to feel the discomfort without trying to fix it with a ritual. This is, without a doubt, incredibly difficult. It goes against every instinct your OCD has been screaming at you, telling you that you are in danger, that something terrible will happen if you don't perform the compulsion. But this is where the magic happens. You are showing it that you can tolerate the anxiety, and that it will eventually decrease on its own without the ritual. Your brain learns that the obsessive thought is just a thought, not a real threat. The catastrophe you feared doesn't actually happen. The doorknob didn't cause a deadly illness. Over time, with repeated practice, the connection between the obsession and the compulsion is weakened and eventually broken. The intrusive thoughts may still pop up from time to time after all. They become like those other cars on the busy street, just passing by without causing a massive pileup. You learn to live with uncertainty. ERP is not about eliminating anxiety from your life forever. It's about learning that you are capable of handling it. It is about taking the power back from OCD and proving to yourself that you are the one in control, not your fears. It is about dismantling that prison of what-ifs brick by brick until you can walk out into the open and experience life, with all its beautiful, messy uncertainty. It is hard work, but it offers the promise of true, lasting freedom. If anything we've talked about today resonates with you, please know that you are not alone, and there is effective help available. Obsessive-compulsive disorder is a recognized mental health condition, and seeking help is a sign of incredible strength. A great first step is to connect with a therapist who specializes in OCD and ERP. You can find resources and support through organizations like the International OCD Foundation. Remember, recovery is possible. Thank you so much for watching and for taking the time to understand this complex topic. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more content on mental health and psychology. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.